You are listening to Fantha Tracks.
Because of the following special program, Wonder Woman and the Incredible Hulk will not be presented this evening.
It's time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file. This is Making Tracks. Here are your hosts, Mark Newbold and Mark Mulcaster.
It's not true. That's impossible.
Thanks, guys. You're listening to Making Tracks. I'm Mark Newbold. This is my co-host, Mark Mulcaster. Introduce yourself, Mark, even though I've already just done it.
Hello there. How's everybody doing? Yeah? Are we all glad to be sitting down for a bit? Because I know I am. Yeah. Woo. What a long day.
I can't believe you said hello there sitting next to Vivien.
It's a bit cheesy.
Oh, okay, so this is how this one's going, eh?
Yep.
So it's been quite a day. We're on day 3. Is it Sunday today?
Yeah, day 3, I think.
So I've had a busy day. Mark's had a busy day. Have you had a busy day?
Yes, very.
What have you been up to?
Well, I started the day with like 10 minutes of signing autographs, and then I went to my first panel, and then I got a break, and then I went to my second panel, and then I did photo ops, and then I came back and signed some more, and then now I'm here.
Wowza. That's good going, I think, for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Be honest, is this the highlight?
We'll see.
It's not a no. It's not a no. So we've decided we don't really plan an awful lot, do we? We usually just talk.
If anybody's listened to any of our podcasts, you can tell we don't plan a thing. Yeah. Well, at least I don't.
I plan minimal stuff.
Yeah.
But being a celebration, this was a bit special being a celebration because it's our Super Bowl or our WrestleMania. It's our big weekend, isn't it?
Cool.
How has Mark, you obviously being with the Rebel Legion, you've had a busy time down on the fan stage. How's it been for you?
It's been bonkers. So I got on site like Wednesday about 11 o'clock, left about 6 o'clock, and then back here Thursday at 8 o'clock to do the build-up, left about 8 o'clock. And then we started the show, and we had the 501st Bash on the Friday night.
Yeah.
And I played the band, which was, all right. And then we had the Saturday start, so I was here at 8 o'clock, and we had the Sail Barge Bash, which then got me home about 1 o'clock, and I was back here at 8 o'clock, and now, I don't know, is it Monday, is it Sunday, is it Thursday, or
I think
Thursday?
It's Sunday.
It's Sunday.
Is it?
There you go.
Easter Sunday. Did you get any Easter eggs?
Is it Easter?
Yeah, it is Easter. We're just here, so.
Oh, that's we didn't get. Did you not get any Easter eggs?
I didn't bring any eggs, sorry.
I have one. My mom has it back there. I got one, and it's Yoda gummies.
Nice.
But there's not enough for all of us.
I mean, there are quite a few. It's Mom's decision, though, if she thinks you deserve candy.
Told you we've got to be on our best behaviour today, dude.
Totally right. Absolutely.
Maybe afterwards.
Maybe afterwards.
Yeah.
I'll take that. So now we've got you here. We don't want to keep you forever because you've had a full-on day. But Obi-Wan Kenobi. Last time we spoke, I think it was fairly early on in you being able to talk about stuff, and we've seen you at a lot of events around Europe and the UK and the States and stuff. How has that journey been for you? Are you enjoying getting out and meeting people?
Well, yeah, it's really fun at these conventions. I get to see all the fans, and I get to walk around, see all the cool stuff, and I get to travel different places, My first time out of the United States was for a convention, so, yeah.
And apart from Holonet News Stage, room 14, where's the best place you've been?
Well, I think, honestly, England is pretty cool. I like it here. It's really nice, but it is cold. Very, 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 very cold. And my little LA body cannot handle that, so...
And we saw you first at Wales Comic Con.
Yes.
You seem to be having a ball at that show.
Yeah, that was fun, yeah.
Are you still? I'm assuming you are still playing D&D because you were going really collecting the dice and getting
Oh
into the
yeah,
dice.
my group hasn't met in a little while. One of the kids was out of town and I've been pretty busy, but once we can all make it work again, we're gonna come back together for a game.
Good. Have you seen the film yet?
No, I haven't. I'm very excited to.
I've seen it. It's pretty good.
It's good, isn't it?
Very funny, actually.
It's very funny.
Very nice. Yeah.
And you like Daleks as well?
Yes.
What's the latest Dalek thing you've got? Because again, you were looking around at all the stuff at Wales. There was quite a bit there.
Well, yeah, there was quite a bit. I have like a full Dalek family in my droid collection now. I think there's like 5 or something. And here, actually, there was the droid builders, and they had these little egg droids, which they designed like differently to be kind of like different styles to represent their builders. And one was a Dalek, and I thought that was really cool.
Was it in the race? They've got a little track out there, haven't they? They were doing little races.
Yes, I saw that. I actually participated in one of the races. That was fun.
How do you do?
Terrible, but yeah, it was fine. And yeah, but they did have egg droids. That one wasn't there, but I saw it when I did the tour of the R2 builders yesterday.
Excellent. So you're enjoying the show? I mean, apart from the talking on stage and all the other responsibilities, you've enjoyed Celebration so far?
Oh, honestly, those are the most fun parts. I really enjoy like the panels and stuff. I really enjoy like. For some reason, I have this thing where I really like answering questions. I like to know things, and I like for people to know things as well. So, yeah, it's really fun to like do these kinds of panels and podcasts and stuff.
That's really good. If you're curious about people and like to talk about stuff, then you're
in the right place
for Star Wars.
Yeah. So, have you seen many costumes, people in costumes, other than myself?
Yeah, actually, I have. I've seen a lot.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of the 501st, which have like the very prestigious costumes, very accurate. But like I've seen a lot as well that are really cool, and I can tell a lot of people worked really hard on them. I've seen like I feel like over 5 people dressed as me already, which is weird, but also fun.
I was going to say it's a bit odd seeing people dress as you. And how do you rate their costumes compared to what you were wearing?
Well, of course, I wore it every day for 8 months, so I understood all the things wrong with it. But but still, for a cheap Amazon version, still pretty good.
That's cool. Yeah. To be fair, that makes you could be like a Rebel Legion costume judge. You know? So we'll have to get you enrolled, definitely. Yeah.
So, a little bit about Obi-Wan Kenobi. So, how many episodes was there? 6 episodes?
6.
How long did it take you to film from top to bottom?
8 months
Wow.
to film, and then a year of editing and a year of auditioning, and then now a year of doing these conventions after it's been released. So it's been like 3.5 years, I feel like.
Yeah. It's like almost like a lifelong commitment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how, I know we talked about this when we've done the interview for Insider, which is coming out very, very soon. How much taller did you grow from when you started to when you finished?
Well, actually, when I just saw Deborah for the first time since we finished in the panel, she said that I had grown quite a bit. I think I've probably grown like half a foot, probably not very much. I'm pretty short, but like still, it's pretty good for a few years.
Let's get going.
And so when you went, again, we spoke before about this, but when you auditioned, you did an audition at the beginning and went on to set, and it was very full on. It was quite involved. Can you tell people a little bit about that?
Well, that was like a chemistry read I did. I had already done the Zoom chemistry read with Ewan and quite a few auditions. And then they had me come in, and it was like full camera, full lights, full set, full costumes. They had everything. And yeah, and I was on there. I got kind of nervous, so they did a private one as well, which was just me, Deborah, and Ewan in Deborah's office, which was really nice. And it was kind of like a get to know you, get to know like your strengths and stuff. And then I'm pretty sure after that I was offered the role.
And how did that feel when that role, they go, yep, you're Princess Leia, it's yours?
I mean, very surreal. It kind of felt like time stopped in that moment. But yeah, I like to the point where I don't really remember it. It feels like it didn't happen. But you know, it was just amazing.
So when you got the role, or even before, whilst you're doing auditions, were you looking at the Princess Leia, like from TV and films and stuff? Were you?
Yeah, I was
Carrie
really
Fisher?
into Star Wars before I got the role. I had always been drawn to Princess Leia and the droids. And Deborah actually asked me not to prep because she didn't want me to try and mimic Carrie Fisher. So she told me, like, don't watch the movies, don't watch, like, anything Star Wars, don't watch a lot of Carrie's movies. Like, I don't want you to be too much influenced by her that it feels fake.
Yeah.
You know, so she really wanted me to kind of just have that energy because through all that auditioning, she decided that I was Leia and she didn't want it to feel over-prepared when I stepped on set.
That's a good decision, though, isn't it? Because if you'd have come in and done, like, an impression of Princess Leia or an impression of Carrie Fisher, it might not have worked as well as it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I suppose in some respects, you know, you're playing the young Leia, which of course Carrie wasn't young when she was, like, you know, in the New Hope.
Yeah.
She was young.
Not as young.
Not as young,
Not
I should
as
say.
young.
Yeah. So yeah. So, and what was your favourite scene shooting?
I mean, all the scenes were super fun to shoot, you know, like as long as I was with my other cast members, they were always so kind and I always got to film such awesome scenes. But I feel like the stunts and stuff, like when I fell off the building, that was really awesome and fun to do.
Not many people say falling off a building's awesome.
Yeah. Then again, I did.
But then not everybody has the force catching them, do they?
Exactly. How many
Yeah.
times did you have to do that?
So many times
Really?
and so many different parts and so many different things. Because first they had to film me on the building, and then they had to film me off the building. And then they had to film me jumping from one building to the other. And then they had to film me grabbing the wire. And then they had to film me hanging from the wire. And then they had to film me falling from the wire. And then they had to film me in midair. And then they had to film me being floated up by the Force, which was not comfortable, may I remind you. And then they had to film me being on the ground and getting up. And then they had to film Ewan coming in to check on me. And then they had to film extra little bits and pieces from on the building and off the building. And then, yeah, I did most of it. I can't take credit for all of it because there was just one shot of the actual landing and grabbing the wire that I was a little bit nervous to do. So that was actually my stunt double, Molly. So, yeah, I can't take credit for all of that, but I did most of it.
I think that deserves a round of applause.
I think so.
I think if I'd have seen that on the call sheet, I would have just jumped off the building.
Yeah.
So you love Star Wars. You watched them all again before you got prepped. You didn't even get prepped. You kind of refreshed yourself, which is a great thing. So when you get into playing the role and you're talking about it to people like us, you love Star Wars. So you obviously I know you're tired because you've had a long day, but you're quite obviously enthused and enjoying talking about it.
Yeah, I honestly just love it, and I love talking about it, and I could share the stories forever because I never got to share them while I was actually making them because it was all such a big secret that getting to share them now is just so exciting.
And was it difficult then, having to keep everything under wraps?
So difficult, especially when it was just the exact wrong timing because it was the time when my friends were getting really into Star Wars, and they would be like, oh, I mean, I just love Star Wars, and I mean, like, Princess Leia is my favorite character, she's so awesome, and I would just be like, like inhuman noises, trying to compress the fact of me that just wanted to say, I'm in Obi-Wan Kenobi as Princess Leia, and I love you. So yeah, it was kind of a lot. And then when I did finally tell people, I mean, like, my friends were so nice about it. They treated me no differently. They were just so incredibly kind. And I'm really lucky to have friends like them, honestly. I think they took it so well, and it was just so sweet for them to be so supportive.
That's very cool. And what's a day for you like? Because obviously as a younger actor or younger actress, your days are slightly different to the adult actors. So how does a day work for you?
Do you mean like on set or just normally?
And with teaching and lessons
Yeah,
and so
on set. So I usually come in earlier or later. It depends on what they want to film, because sometimes, like, if they want to film something late at night, I have a time limit. I can only be there for, pretty sure it's 9 hours, 9.5. So, yeah, my mom's nodding. So, basically, if they want to film later, they'll bring me in later, so they can bring me in at noon, let me sleep in, but that means I have to work until 9:30 at night, because maybe they want to get a night shot. But if they don't want the night to go in, like they want to film all day shots, then they'll bring me in super early. I think the earliest I had was like 4:30 a.m. or something. But at least you get off early. You're home by lunch, which is nice. But so like I start out earlier or later, depends on what they want to film. I usually get a block of school done, which is 20 minutes right away, because they have to get an hour done every day. So I get my 20 minutes, and then either they'll want to do more school because they want to bank, so they can bank hours, which means that if they're really running behind on a day, they don't have to school me because they can just use a banked hour. So sometimes they'll want to bank hours, or they'll move me on and they'll first when I get there, I have to get into costume and get my hair and makeup done, and then I do school. And then let's just say for this day we're making up, they want to get it done early, so I do an hour of school. And then they have me do a few scenes, which, like, for one scene, it'll probably take about 3 to 4 hours. And then they'll have me go back and finish up my school, or maybe bank some more. And then they'll bring me in, and then finally, usually around like 3 or 4, I forgot, you have to have a lunch break, so I get a 30-minute lunch break in between. And then after they're done filming, they'll bring me back to the trailer, maybe get a little bit more school done before I can go. And then I get out of my costume. If I have like something special, like on Obi-Wan, I had the fake hair and the contacts, so they would have to take that out. But usually with makeup, it's like a tiny bit of concealer maybe, so I don't really need to worry about it. And then I go home, I eat dinner with my family, and then go to bed early so I can get up for my 6 a.m. call time the next day.
Oh, man.
Another round of applause, please.
Yeah, thanks.
So, Vivien, when you're running Hollywood, it's going to be really organised, isn't it?
I mean, I don't know, probably.
It will be. It will be. So, outside of Obi-Wan Kenobi, other work that you've done, is there anything on the horizon that we can look forward to that you can talk about? Because we know you're very good at keeping secrets.
Well, yeah, actually. I think Star Wars was probably the biggest secret. What I have is Fatal Attraction that's coming out, I believe it's April 30th, and that you can see me in as a younger version of because there's 2 timelines, so a younger version of someone in the older timeline. And then I also am going to be in The Boogeyman, releasing 2 days before my birthday on June 2nd, which is a very, 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 very scary movie that I will not be watching. But everybody on that set was so nice, and I'm really excited to see what you guys all think of it.
Was that an interesting change of pace, doing a horror film?
Yes and no. Like, I feel like Obi-Wan Kenobi was actiony enough that, like, it wasn't too different. Like, it would have been weird if I had gone from, like, a comedy to a horror. And, I mean, like, Obi-Wan had, like, some comedy elements, but, like, it kind of mixed it in. It had, like, comedy, drama, thriller, sci-fi. Like, it kind of mixed it all together. So it wasn't too big of a change, but, like, it was a little bit weird because, I mean, like, it's different for sure. And it was like an actual for real monster movie, like there is a very terrifying entity with fingers for teeth that is hunting me. So yeah, gross. And the director, who is very nice, for a premiere gift on the cast and crew screening, he got me the actual VFX head of the Boogeyman to put in my room.
Wow.
Because he is a lovely human being. So, and he's British too. So,
that explains a lot.
Yeah, so now I have the Boogeyman in my living room wearing a bucket hat next to my schoolroom globe. So, that's lovely. And then, but yeah, it's very terrifying. But luckily, it's like the designed version, so it's not as detailed. But I'm not sure that really excuses how creepy it is. But yeah, I think that movie's really fun. I play like the one of the main leads, because the main three leads are the family, and I play the little sister. And honestly, that role was so fun. I got to do so much awesome stuff. I got to like be a part of killing the Boogeyman at the end, which was really fun. And what? Sorry. Yeah. True. I'm sorry for spoilers, but I mean, it's a monster movie. You know the monster's gonna get killed at the end. It's just what happens.
Well, I'm almost scared to ask this question.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I was amazed to learn that you wrote a book when you were 3 years old that you can actually buy on Amazon, and it's a real thing called Spider School.
Yep.
Tell us about Spider School.
Well, I don't know. It just kind of happened. I wanted to write a book about this spider named Malcolm who lived in a very dense bush on a very dark street where a spider named Malcolm wanted something to eat. That's the beginning line of the book. But yeah, I wrote it out, and then my dad knew this guy who could like draw it out and get it published, and he helped me storyboard it out and then draw it and write it. And now it's being sold on Amazon, and it's actually selling out pretty quickly, which always makes me feel good to see 8 left in stock on Amazon. So, but yeah, it's really nice. Dad says we should restock it soon, and I'm thinking maybe I'll write a sequel someday.
Spider University.
Yeah. Yeah. 10 years later.
And what other writing would you like to do?
Well, I really want to write like an actual script. I'm working on a few right now. I just love to write, and I think just any form of writing always interests me.
So do you like writing for other people, or do you always kind of write a part for yourself?
Well, it really depends. Like, I feel like most of my stories do kind of center around like a 10-year-old girl kind of thing, but I think that's mostly just because I can relate to it, so I can write it easier. And also, I want to direct as well, so I feel like it would be easier to direct to someone I relate to more, you know? And so it does tend to be centered around someone similar to me, but it really depends, like, where I'm writing it, when I'm writing it, if I want to be in it kind of thing. But mostly I just want to write and direct, and we'll see if I feel like there's a part for me.
So when you're on Kenobi, were you taking notes and watching what Deborah Chow was doing? And
yeah, I was, and I actually had quite a few ideas. I tend to, on movies, like have ideas for scenes, do little like improv stuff that I'll add in. And Deborah was so like amazing about that, and she would be like, okay, let's try one with and one without. And sometimes she'd be like, I mean, I feel like it doesn't really work, and I'd be like, yeah, I agree. Or she'd be like, actually, that's pretty great, we'll make that a thing. And like, it was really great. She was just so accepting, and it was wonderful, and I hope I can turn those ideas of mine into something of my very own one day.
And do you enjoy, as you get older and acting more, do you enjoy improving your craft? Because every actor learns new things and sort of assimilates from other actors. Are you enjoying that process?
Absolutely. I love learning new things from different actors, especially ones who have had more experience than me. It's always so fun working with them and seeing what they do and like understanding new tricks and stuff. I remember an actor on a set once told me something that I'll never forget. He said, "Well, Vivi, you get to act, but you get paid to wait."
Yes.
And it's very true, and I think there are things that I've learned like that have really just changed my career and really helped me along.
Well, we've absolutely loved having you on. We're not going to keep any longer because I think you're probably ready for a chill-out time. But can everybody give Vivien a massive round of applause, please? Right. So what are we going to talk about now, Mark?
Oh, I don't know.
We're going to give our co-host a little break.
Yeah.
A long break. You can have a break.
Unless you want to pick a topic, Vivien.
Oh, yeah, pick a topic.
Yeah.
Oh, I
What
don't
should we
know.
talk about?
Hey, Mom, do you think they deserve candy?
I think we deserve candy. Yeah.
Okay, Mom said yes, so you may have the Yoda candy.
Honestly, nothing is better on a podcast than listening to people eat candy.
Yeah, I mean,
and getting the
for
Yoda.
3 or 4 hours of editing that we've done, kind of like... Yeah.
Thank you again, Vivien.
Yeah.
Well, we're not going to top that, are we?
No.
Oh, well, maybe.
Oh,
maybe it'll
maybe.
get topped because there's candy coming my way.
Yeah.
As promised.
You're the best. Oh, yeah, Mark takes that one. Can we split it? Is that a Grogu?
Yeah, these are little Grogu sweets.
A little Grogu.
Yeah. Thank you very
guys.
much. See
Thank
you later.
Take care.
Here's where to find Fantha tracks during Star Wars Celebration Europe.
You can find Fantha tracks in the fan displays area across the whole event, near to the Galactic Senate stage in the North Hall if you're there. Or, if you spot a Fantha track shirt on the show floor, be sure to come on over and say hi. On Saturday, 8th April from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m., Good Morning Tatooine, hosted by Brian Cameron with co-host Florian Bohr from Jedi Bibliotech, will be on the Holonet News Stage, room 17, along with very special guest author Adam Christopher. Also, on Saturday, 8th April from 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m., Desert Planet Discs, hosted by Carl Bayless and Greg Robertson, will be on the Galactic Senate stage, bringing the fan-made music of the Star Wars galaxy to the XL, focusing on Return of the Jedi, with some very special guest panelists. Saturday evening, on the River Thames, we'll see Fantha tracks take part in Sail Barge to Celebration, a sold-out clubs-only ticketed event that is sure to bring a few surprises. On Sunday, 9th April, from 2:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m., Start Your Engines, hosted by Paul Naylor and Mark Newbold, will be on the Holonet News Stage, room 14. And just 2 hours later, from 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m., on the same stage, we'll see the return of Making Tracks Live with your hosts, Mark Newbold and Mark Mulcaster. Hashtag Cantina returns Sunday night to the Indigo at the O2. And Fantha Tracks are your host for the VIP after party with guest DJ Atomic Blonde. If you have tickets, be sure to attend, as this is where you have a great chance of spotting some very famous faces from the galaxy far, far away, right in the crowd. Finally, on Monday, 10th April, from 12:30 p.m. to 1:30 p.m., Planet Leia, hosted by Claire Henry and Johanna Nebielios, will be on the Holonet News Stage, room 17.
Have fun, and remember, Fantha trackers are everywhere.
It's been a packed convention. We've still got a day to go.
Yes, we have.
It's been a good one for
Haven't we?
Fantha tracks.
Has it?
Yes, because we've had Start Your Engines on earlier,
Yeah.
which was wonderful with Mr. Naylor over there. Hello, sir. And we've got Planet Leia tomorrow. We had Desert Planet on the Galactic Senate stage. So we've had plenty of stuff going on.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But 40th anniversary, Return of the Jedi.
Go on. Yep.
So, because I thought we'll pivot a little bit because everybody is talking about the reveals, so I'm sure everyone's bored of hearing about them. Well, bored? I don't think they're bored about hearing about the reveals, but it's been chewed over plenty.
And to be fair, all cards on the table. I've been so busy, I've hardly seen or read anything.
Same.
So, yeah,
Same.
I'm definitely relying on that live stream.
Well, when I've got full edit control, I don't mind being misinformed because I can clip it out, but I've got a room full of people in front of me, so I don't want to do it now.
So 40th anniversary,
40th
Return of
anniversary
Jedi.
of Jedi. To you,
Yeah.
you mentioned it on the Rebel Legion panel, and you said it in such a sweet way, but you basically called me an old fart.
Yeah.
How important is Jedi to you? I assume it's pretty important.
Pretty important, partly because my gateway, and I've said this a couple of times on the records, my gateway into Star Wars was actually the Ewok cartoons, which is a really random and slightly niche kind of like entry level, and some people are cringing. I happened to actually pick up an animated cell.
Really?
Yeah, on the show floor earlier on today, so that's quite cool because it's got my first crush, Latara, on it, so, very happy. So, yeah, I mean, and it was slightly more accessible,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot more kind of like kid-friendly kind of stuff about it, so, yeah.
The reason I ask is because we've just had Vivien with us.
Yeah.
I still can't believe she came.
I know.
But we just had Vivien with us, and obviously she's 10, and she's just coming into Star Wars, and she'd watched all the films and stuff, but I should have asked her, really, that, what was the I mean, Obi-Wan is obviously the thing she's going to remember, but what's the moment when she hooked into Star Wars and really latched on? What was the thing? And everybody's got something, and it's usually different.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, actually, probably my very first memory of watching Star Wars was actually around my friend's house. And he wasn't there, actually, because I was ill. And my mum had to go to work, so my next-door neighbour actually said, I'll look after Mark. And she was like, oh, do you want to watch Return of Jedi? And I was like, yeah, go on then. And I don't think at that age, you just you just kind of put it on and just watch it and just accept it for what it is. And you don't kind of go, who are these characters? You just kind of look at the stunning visuals and all the cool stuff. And then, so that was probably my first kind of like proper kind of memory of Star Wars. But then I can remember just kind of like, droids and Ewoks and that especially. So, what about you? Because obviously, slightly different age, and so coming to the end of that original trilogy, slightly different kind of like tonal path as well to it. How did that, from your perspective and the fans' reactions at the time, having just had a very kind of like subtext heavy Empire Strikes Back, and then kind of almost reverting back to form, how was Return of the Jedi for you guys?
It's a good way of putting it, actually. It was different. I think kids my age, when I was a kid, when that was out, you had that amazing, and Dan Zare talks about it in Coffee with Kenobi the other day, and he made a really good point. That Empire to Jedi stretch it's still my favourite period of Star Wars time. The Marvel comics, the toys that were coming out, just the tantalising thought of what was ahead, because we didn't truly know what was coming, and all the playground rumours, which was basically the internet back then, was the playground. So all of that just built and built and built, and then you got Jedi, which pretty much paid off on everything. But it was also, I do remember that Christmas, my Christmas present, 83, was Raiders on Video 2000, that old Video 2004. Raiders on Video 2000 and the John Williams cassette of Jedi. Awesome. And I remember on Christmas Day going upstairs and playing the Jedi soundtrack, and when it got to the end, I got all choked up, proper choked up, because I thought, this is it, this is Star Wars, it's done, there's no more Star Wars. And the amount of times we've had, Star Wars is done, you had it then, you had it in lots of different weird ways, like when the Marvel comic finished with issue 107 with Bantha Tracks, finished Bantha Tracks with issue 36, I think it was, if I remember. And there's been endings for Star Wars across time, and then of course Revenge of the Sith.
Exactly. Because I can remember that. It's very clearly like Revenge of the Sith kind of going, because it really did feel like close of a circle. And I suppose that's the nice thing, actually, when we got to the end of Rise of Skywalker, was actually, I think we all kind of felt, so it's meant to be the end of Skywalker Saga. It's definitely not the end of Star Wars, by no stretch of imagination. No. So it was kind of like a weird, kind of melancholy kind of like feeling of, well, it's done, but then, blue sky from then on. So,
totally.
And what a treat we've had every single year since then.
Oh, it's been crazy, and you could never have envisaged when Jedi, certainly not when Jedi came out, because just the technological advances alone makes it a totally different ball game. But
Battle of Endor, just like you compare that to the original Battle of Yavin, and it's just like miles apart in terms of like, you know, the compositing and the layering and just a number of ships and that were in that space battle, you know. So
it's interesting you mentioned that, because we had Bill Kimberlin on, who was one of the guys that works at ILM, who sort of was part of that amazing shot of the SB-63 or something, when they laid all those shots together for the coming away from the Death Star. And he basically reiterated what, here we go, I'm name dropping there. I interviewed Dennis Murin a long time ago for Lightsaber, and he said, I said, do you think they would have ever, you know, how far would optical have got if digital hadn't have come along? And he said, well, we'd have just kept throwing money at it, and it would have got better and better and better. You know, and you just wonder how far that tech would have got. But you look back to that time period and you think, that moment in Jedi, it never really got better than that for optical effects, did it? No,
I don't think so. I mean, because you look at some of the films from then, you know, it really shows. But then it's down to like the genius of the fact that, you know, they shot their plates on VistaVision, so they shot at 70mm rather than 35. So then once you've done a couple of transfers, the quality kind of sits in. And I mean, I had this even, you know, this is bizarrely going back like 10, 12 years when HD came out and we were still editing on tape. We had to be careful that if you kind of edited one shot from one tape to another and you did it more than 5 times, the generation quality went down, so the visual quality went down. And, you know, that's still digital, so it's digital tape to digital tape. Now, if you've got people actually physically handling film, you know, you've got to be so careful. And the fact that we were able to maintain that level of quality, and obviously the stop motion control kind of like was improved, you know, it's mind-boggling. And to this day, I still can't figure out how they were able to do it, and just how clever you've got to be to do stuff like that.
And that's a really good point you pick up on, because Neil Scanlon said it not long ago, how there was things they did on Rise of Skywalker that they couldn't really do on Force Awakens.
Yeah.
That they could have done it, but not to the level that they did it. And it kind of feels now with this era of Star Wars is the more that you make Star Wars, the better the tech's going to be. They mentioned it for Ahsoka, where the head tails are now done slightly differently, and there's things they can do now that they couldn't do when she turned up in Mando. And how long ago was that? A couple of years?
A couple of years, yeah.
So the more they make, the better it gets.
And you know, just, you know, the volume tech, and again, it's understanding and refining the process. Yeah. You know, like, because you can really see the difference between like season 1 and season 2 to season 3 with just like, you know, how the volume tech has improved and how people are getting, like, to understand it, but not only just for Star Wars, but also other productions who are using it. And then it's really telling when you do see enough production that uses it, and you're like, ooh, that's not quite so good, is it? You know, and it is difficult. You know, the tests that we've done at Sky is like, you know, some stuff works, and other stuff you kind of go, yeah, it's not right for that. And then you have to pivot, and you go, right, we're going to have to go back to using green screen technology or something else, or even just rear screen projection, which is technically what volume is in some respects. So,
but it's funny, I think, when you go back to Jedi and look at the making of, especially that era of filmmaking. You know, Star Wars had a making of Star Wars, but it always felt more like a PR thing. It was
yeah.
You know, making of Empire, I don't remember seeing that for a long time. It was hard to get in the UK. It wasn't as easily accessible. Making the Jedi and Classic Creatures, they were on, they were there. We got video recorders to record it. It was something you could watch.
Exactly, and I think that is one of the things that I think, you know, for me personally, you know, if it wasn't for Star Wars, I certainly wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. And it's by lifting the lid and showing me stuff. I mean, obviously, on one hand, it kind of, you know, you can go, well, you're lifting the curtain and it ruins the magic. But actually, I think it gives people a more profound understanding and respect for the craft that these people do.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, exactly that. We had Jake Lund Davis on Start Your Engines earlier, talking about the current job he's doing on another film production, storyboarding.
Yeah.
And you think of Star Wars, and storyboards was such a key thing of that, you know, a key important part of how we learnt about the film process. And it was really from Star Wars that you had no idea what was involved in making these things. No. And Star Wars did lift the lid, but on their terms.
Exactly.
And it brought the fans with it.
Yeah, and they still do that now with, like, you know, the gallery series and that. Every single one of these special featurettes is, you know, it's very neatly targeted at, you know, to focus on a special thing. And they did that, like, with the prequel trilogy as well. Like, you know, that the Revenge of the Sith one, you know, was it 60 seconds or something?
60 on the Mustafar scene,
Yeah, and, you know, and you think just the fact that they were like, right, we're actually just going to focus on one scene. Yeah. You know, I mean, my favourite still is like the beginning, you know, that episode 1, and that closely followed by Classic Creatures.
Yes.
You know? Yeah. So what about you? What's your like most memorable favourite scene from Jedi?
Oh, wow. There's a few. You could easily pick a top 5, but if I had to pick one, I would probably say the Skiff battle. Because that just felt, with the music, that music was just supreme. The visuals were bang on. They pretty much got the Matt Lyons problem sorted, like they could never quite do for Empire. And they just got all these things, all these elements came together. Yeah. The old Sarlacc, I don't like the beaky Sarlacc, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that. But the old Sarlacc. And just the way it plays, just the way that whole thing plays out, it felt like, Luke's finally here.
Yeah, because it's for ratcheting up of that tension, with the John Williams beats and the cuts, and it's that classic thing of like, and it's masterful editing because you're seeing all the chess pieces move into position, and then it's just like that fanfare and what we're in, and it's cool. Not so much of a fan of like the way Boba Fett goes, but hey, what can you do? So,
well, what about you? The same question back.
Oh, to be honest, I've always liked that final duel, and for me, I think it's because there's something about the lighting in that scene. It's got a really thick density to it. Like, Luke's black tunic is black. It's very dark, and it's kind of blues, and that one shot where he's underneath kind of like the catwalk and he's kind of half lit and stuff, and the symbology behind that, and obviously when he kind of comes out after Vader kind of like says, your sister, and he kind of like unleashes hell and that, and
that was uncanny.
Yeah, I know. Eh? And obviously the music as well, like the John Williams kind of music, that kind of like that score of that choir is just like, it's immense, isn't it? And I don't think like they've topped that in terms of like, just a combination of like a scene.
It's a good point you make. You kind of forget about that. You don't forget, but you don't acknowledge it. When you hear Duel of the Fates, it kind of feels like that's the first time we had a mega choir going for it, but it wasn't. You had it in Jedi.
Yeah, and for me, it's, all that choir in Jedi, with the all that stuff is quite dark and it's quite gothic, and I really like that. It kind of resonates with me.
Thanks for reminding me that you're a musician. That was excellent.
Thank you.
We'll throw it out to the crowd, the masses of people who are tweeting pictures of Vivien Lyra Blair. I'm loving it. Anybody? Shout out. The mics will pick it up. Favourite scenes from Jedi, and tell us why. Okay. We're gonna no. Go on. Why? No. What? Okay. We're
Did somebody put their hand up? Yeah, man at back. Speed it.
What a great way of putting it. I've never thought of it in that frame, but that's a really good way.
Yeah.
That's Genesis, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. You think about like how, that story gets passed on from Ewok to Ewok over time. Because like down in the Rebel Legion.
Anthony Daniels will be insufferable if he knows that.
God, yeah. His panels are long enough as it is. But like, if you go downstairs to Rebel Legion booth, we've actually got a replica throne with a brilliant C-3PO on it, and you can put on an Ewok hood and you can get a spear. And the amount of people who turn to stab 3PO, I'm like, no, you're here to protect him, you're here to worship him. And they're like,
So you've really, bing, I've never thought of it that way.
Yeah, see?
That's brilliant.
Yeah, excellent.
Any more? Is there any more insight that's going to top that? No, put your hand back up, go on.
Whenever Yoda confirms to Luke that Vader is the dad,
yeah.
it's good because, like, whenever what happens, like, 7 or 8 or something like that, that's not great. There's no way, just, he's saying that to get him over the door.
Yeah.
And then whenever the supposed good guys go, by the way, we've been lying to you this time, that was kind of a smack in the face for me.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually, because when you look back at it and you realise that as much as Palpatine, not in the same level, clearly not the same level, but in the same way that Palpatine was manipulating circumstance to make things work for him, Ben and Yoda were also kind of doing the same with Luke, because
Absolutely.
he was the big chance, wasn't he?
Yeah, and watching that as a kid didn't really kind of, that doesn't go over your head, but then you start to think about it and you're actually, hang on a sec, and it comes back to that thing that we've discussed loads on the episodes about, like, that whole James Bond thing of like the villain never lies, but always tell the truth, and it's actually the goodies who tend to have to motivate people and therefore manipulate the truth to get the motivation for the protagonist to move on.
Yeah. So it's kind of heartbreaking because Yoda clearly knows he's on his way out, isn't he? So he's got to tell the kid. It's now or never moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the realisation, even though we as an audience had probably clocked it, it's still one of those
exactly
moments.
Yeah, and I think also like the fact that like you see that Obi-Wan isn't who Luke thinks he is.
Yes.
That whole kind of like hero worship kind of aspect. And so I think it's interesting.
And just going back to Vivien for a moment, the Kenobi series, I think did a great job of showing that Ben, not that he ever claimed to be infallible, but he really isn't. He's just a guy. He's had his ups and his downs, and he's in that show. He's really, I'm pointing to an empty chair. He's really on his uppers, isn't he? And there's a whole process to building him back up. But he never claimed to get everything right.
No, exactly. No, young man in front.
Yeah, I was just going to say. To this day, I cannot watch the end of Return of the Jedi just because being a kid, like psychologically, that was like the end of Star Wars.
Yeah.
So that could be my favourite scene, but to this day, as soon as it gets to the Death Star blowing up, end of it, I just have to turn it off.
Oh, really? Wow.
That's interesting, actually. I do totally get that. Yeah. I do totally get that.
But I think one of the better changes is the ending extra shots of seeing people celebrate like the liberation of the galaxy, from like different planets. Not a huge fan of the music change, but but those shots I think themselves are pretty cool. Now I'm going to do something because he tends to ask a lot of questions in our podcast, but Mr. Skyhawker is over there. So, Mr. Skyhawker, what is your favourite scene from Return of the Jedi?
It's pretty much the same as your answer.
Yeah.
The end duel between Vader and especially the music, like you were saying. It's the most effective scene, really, from the whole 9 films for me. I don't think it's on there.
There you go. I knew I'd get my own back eventually.
That's a good point, though, because you look at the whole run of it. I think it was Roland Emmerich, the guy that directed Independence Day.
Yeah.
Talked about Jedi in the Empire interview and said that if you look at it, the last third of Jedi, the last sort of third of that film is culminating not just that film, but the whole of the trilogy, and does it really, really well.
Yeah.
And you think, we've talked about things like this before on the show. You look at poor old Phantom Menace that had no chance to be, because it was being compared to the trilogy.
Exactly.
And then you get to Rise of Skywalker, and it's got to wrap up not just itself or that sequel trilogy, but the whole 9 films. And no film's ever going to satisfy that.
No. Well, even Revenge of the Sith, because you kind of get to the end of that, and it feels like, quick, I've forgotten to do this, and I need to kind of like have all these different resolutions. Whereas with Jedi, it was perfect, and I mean, again, it's kind of like that whole classic, Lucas ability to really give the space battle and the ground battle and like the duel and everything, like the breadth that it needs to kind of like keep things going and move the story along and keep it interesting. Whereas as much as I don't like to rat on Rise of Skywalker, it felt a little bit rushed and stuff like that. So
And I think talking about what's been announced this weekend, with the Rey film.
Yes.
That's really going to pick up. It's giving us a gap as well. Star Wars is good at giving us gaps so they can put comics and books in there and other TV shows. So that's going to work out quite nicely, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure, I think I called this one a while back, saying that I reckon the Rey would be one of the next stories they're going to tell.
Yep.
So, hands up, who's actually excited for Rey? Yeah? Oh, generally. Wicked.
We have a very, very discerning audience, and we may even have a Rey in the audience by the looks of it.
Rey, are you happy? Are you excited for the next Rey movie? Yeah.
That's a yes. That's a yes.
Yeah, excellent.
Slight shift of topic, but same film. Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
Most merchandised of the 3, I would say.
Yeah,
if
definitely.
you look back at it, certainly from the toy point of view.
Yeah.
Coming in as a kid, which was your favourite Return of the Jedi toy?
Chicken Walker.
Great choice.
110%. Although pretty difficult to get the bugger to stand up properly. Play it a little bit too much and just kind of start to lean.
Springs start to go.
Yeah. So and when I started to kind of like then collect again, because being that little bit younger, we got kind of like second-hand toys from the street. So as for the older kids...
The street.
Seriously, the street.
The street.
There was like Daniel down one end and Stephen up the other end, and their parents would just go, like, who wants, they're bored of Star Wars, and they'd just kind of chuck them out. And we're like, yeah, we'll play it. I mean, me and my brother did throw a Millennium Falcon out of the bedroom window to see if it would fly. It didn't go too well, but yeah, the Chicken Walker...
Because the hyperdrive motivator was damaged.
Yeah, exactly. But Chicken Walker itself was definitely one of my favourites, just because like the mechanics of it worked really well as well. You know, you think about how good that was like 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
You know,
I still don't know the scene with the... I've got to say, I love that you call it Chicken Walker, because I know that's what ILM used to call it.
Yeah.
The scene with the logs, when you see the legs going wobbling, it's like, how did they even think to be able to try to line that up?
To animate that, yeah.
And it's perfect.
Yeah, exactly. It's just crazy, isn't it? You know, so... what about you?
There's so many cool sets from Jedi, but I'd probably pick something smaller. I'd probably pick the speeder bike, because you've got that little exploder thing on the back where it would just literally pop and go to bits.
Yeah.
And that was so fun. And then Biker Scout was such a good-looking figure.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the Biker Scout, just generally as a character design, is still one of my favourite. You know, it's the helmet.
Yeah.
It's because I think it's more symmetrical than like the Stormtrooper helmet, which is asymmetrical. And actually, if you go down to the Rebel Legion booth, we have a 1-to-1 scale speeder bike as well. So very close to our Endor throne. Another plug.
Well played.
You see?
Well played. You're good at this.
I know.
So what do you think? I mean, we've got 9 movies. We've got Solo and Rogue One. There's now 3 more. I'd like to think definitely coming.
Yep.
Now they've announced them. 3 more films coming, so we're really on a big slate of films. What do you think the legacy of Return of the Jedi is? In whatever terms you want, really. I'll preempt your answer.
Oh, God, I hate these legacy questions.
I like to make you think.
Yeah,
At the end of a long day.
Yeah, exactly. Long weekend. I mean, I think, like you said, it's, you know, for this summation of like an end of an era. You know, I mean, that last shot, you know, with the gang all together and the little wipe into, you know, the credits and stuff felt like very definitive. And that. But then when you look back at it now, you're just like, oh, but there's so many adventures that they went on. You think of all those like expanded universe and legend stories that they told, and then everything else. Yeah. And like, you know, I mean, it's just bonkers to think of like where they left it to where we are now. Yeah. So, you know, the legacy, I think, for me, is the fact that whilst it was an end, I think it was also a new beginning.
That's a great point.
Thank
That's
you
a
very
really
much.
good point. I think when Phantom Menace came out, I almost appreciated Jedi more.
Yeah.
Because I've always in my head, I've always felt there's a point in Empire Strikes Back where up to a certain point in Empire, it still feels like Star Wars. Mm-hmm. You get to a certain point, and it feels like Jedi. It's weird. I mean, it's not that, but it feels like that. And to me, Phantom Menace and Jedi always felt kind of weirdly close. There's certain Star Wars films that feel like they're on the same sort of tone. Phantom, Jedi, Revenge of the Sith, Force Awakens. They're all that same sort of tone, if that makes any sense. But Jedi, I think, technologically was just insane. The leaps. You don't see leaps like that now.
No, well, I suppose that's the thing, because, like, you know, sometimes you look at, like, CG and you kind of go, oh, that looks really good. But then actually when you do go back, even if you go back to, like, Force Awakens, you know. Yeah. Which is, you know, what, 8
years ago? Yeah.
8 years ago. And you look at CG and it's like, wow, things do change. But we're so much used to seeing that, like, everything has CG in it now. And it's like, you know, it's how you use it. It's how you employ it. And, I mean, you know, you mentioned Dungeons and Dragons earlier on. And great film. Yeah. However, not the greatest CG. You know, some of that stuff didn't look quite as good as it could be. So maybe ILM were busy that day and they had to go somewhere else. So.
No, ILM did the visual effects on
Did they really?
They did.
Ooh, awkward.
I can see the red dot on your head, the sniper's here.
Yeah, but here you go.
Anybody else got any thoughts on Jedi before we roll out of this devastatingly fantastic podcast? Oh, Mr. Naylor, yes, sir? Oh, the worst scene.
The worst scene.
This is controversial. We've already mentioned Princess Leia. We can't... Oh, really?
I mean, to be fair, it's like my worst scene in like a Bond film as well. You know, so it might as well be my worst scene in Return of Jedi. But for me, actually, I think it's really innate. It's like the random extension of Jabba the Hutt throne. Like door and stuff. Just like it's a bit like the one from A New Hope where they just had to kind of like CG a rock in front of Artu just to make it super literal.
I hate that.
You know, so yeah. But I mean, I'm a big fan of Jedi rocks. I don't know about you guys. I mean, do we prefer Jedi rocks, or are we like a lapty neck?
I prefer lapty neck, but I think what they did with Jedi rocks was really good.
Yeah,
the sequence was really
and especially going into like with Ula and stuff like that. I think it works. You know, But and again, that's one of those things you think 1997, so they were doing CG in 96. Like how bonkers that stuff was now.
I'm making assumptions. I'm assuming 97 was the first time we saw Jedi on the big screen.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's back. I think Paul, you were saying it's back in the. Fairly soon, isn't it?
Cool.
Yeah, which is amazing.
We need to set up a screening then, don't we?
We do. We need to set up a Fantha Tracks screening. Blimey, we're making plans live on stage. Are we going to do this?
Yeah. Well, if we do it, I'm sure they'll make 3 more films.
I'll fit everyone in my living room. They'll fit in.
Yeah. TV's not big enough, mate.
Any more thoughts on Jedi? Oh, I have a hand at the back. Here we go.
Question, because you said that you didn't like the music of it. What do you think of the change of Anakin?
That's a good question.
The
Anakin change.
It's a controversial question. I mean, yeah. I suppose part of it all kind of comes down to where, if you subscribe to that whole theory of like when Anakin stops being Anakin and becomes Darth Vader and all that. I mean, there's always that thing, isn't there, of like, if you are erasing somebody's performance a little bit, what's going on there?
April 28th, Return of the Jedi returns to theatres.
Thank you, Mr. Naylor.
Thank you, Paul.
I'm so glad you walked right in front of me and completely put me off my point just to do that. Thank you.
Doesn't take much.
April 28th. Yeah, it looks a bit jarring, and I think it's just
bit jar-jarring.
A bit jar-jarring, yeah. It doesn't bother me too much. What bothers me most...
Here we go.
It's the no at the end of a scene, at the end of the duel. I think that works, and I've said this so many times, George Lucas works so much better when it's just visuals, and I just don't think you need that no. Partly because it just sounds like an outtake from Revenge of the Sith. Yeah. And I just think it just doesn't work in that scene, personally. That's
No, I agree. I mean, that we could do a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
I'm sure we will now about the benefits and not of the special
pros and
editions.
cons, yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right about the Jedi Rock scene. It works pretty good. I mean, 1996, I guess they made it out in 97. CG compared to now is like, you can't compare. But my worst one was another Vader one actually from Empire.
Yeah, I know.
Before he used to say, "Bring my shuttle," and now it's "Prepare my Star Destroyer for my arrival." It's like, no. Before he's like really pissed off.
Yeah.
Bleep. But now it's just like telling the guy to go and get my ship ready, and it just changed the tone of it. And that's the thing about Star Wars, is that I think we live with it and watch it so much that you imbue it.
Yeah.
So you kind of know what they're feeling and know what they're thinking, and because you've watched it so many times, and they make one little tweak like that, and well, actually, no, you were wrong.
Yeah.
We were wrong,
exactly. So, but it's chalk and cheese, and I suppose it's that whole thing. It's like somebody who has only ever watched Star Wars from Disney Plus. They're not going to know any different. And actually, it makes perfect sense when you think about it. If they would have hopefully seen 1, 2, and 3, and then seen 4, 5, and 6, and we were like, oh yeah, there's a dude there.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Which is how George always wanted it, wasn't it?
Yeah. So can't really argue with the maker, I don't think.
Well, on that note, because we're not going to argue with the maker, because he knows where we live, thank you everyone for joining us. It's been so much fun, and thank you to Vivien. I'm pointing at an empty chair again. Thank you, Vivien. You were wonderful. And tune in, you get the sweets. And tune in to Fantha Tracks Radio. Subscribe, listen, share, and comment, and all the other good stuff. But for now, thank you everyone. Enjoy the rest of the celebration.
Coming up next on Fantha Tracks Radio, it's Planet Leia.